Good afternoon, YouTube family and friends. I hope you're having a great work week. It is Friday. Yay! And I'm taking a second shot at recording this video. This video will be on my liver cirrhosis journey, as I had been promising for a few weeks now that I would eventually get to. And I tried recording it a few days ago on my GoPro, and it was so long. It'd be like 27, 28 minutes. I just had all kinds of issues trying to get it split up into different parts and trying to get it to load. And so I just decided to scrap that one. And some of the things I said in there, I realized afterwards that they weren't fully accurate. Now, going off my memory is not the best thing. But no, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can be based on the memory I have on this liver cirrhosis journey. So, but anyway, I'm going to try to do a shorter video on it but try to hit the high points of from the beginning to where we're currently at right now. So it initially started off as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So back in 2016, the summer of 2016, is I was at my highest weight I had ever been. I've always been a little chunky, but not overly bad. But the summer of 2016, I was just tired all the time, wore out. I was working two jobs at the time. I had just finished getting my degree in school, but I was working two jobs because I had my mom and stepdad moved in with me because my stepdad was having issues. We were trying to get him uh, try to get him disability, and my mom was having issues as well. And she when she did work, she didn't make that much, and they were losing their place. So they had moved in with me prior to that. They were living with me for a few years before then. But anyway, money was tight, so I was working two jobs to help support the three of us. And so I just initially thought, no, I was overweight. I was working constantly, and I thought that I was just being worn down from that. But another issue that I was having, and I had had it for over a year by that time, was I was having a lot of discomfort on my right side, this kind of right at the bottom of the rib cage. This is where your liver is at, and that's where my discomfort was happening. And so it was discomfort to pain at times. And so I had been mentioning this to my doctor for about a year, and she just chalked it up to it was muscle cramp or something, because my dad would get muscle cramps in that kind of almost same area. But he didn't have any issues with his liver. He still doesn't. He's still alive, but he doesn't have issues with his liver. But so I just thought maybe it was muscle cramps, and the doctor thought so as well. So we didn't think nothing of it. Well, so come July of 2016, no, I had my doctor's follow up to do new blood work, and I had mentioned that this pain was still there. So we decided to go ahead and do an ultrasound of my abdomen just to see if there's anything going on there. And well, my blood work came back, and one thing is my diabetes was out of control. I had been diabetic since my early 30s, started off as pre-diabetes, and I was about maybe 220, 230 when I hit my 30s. But I was still active. But in my 30s, I became less active because I was working two jobs, going to school and whatnot. And so I started to put on more weight. And so my diabetes got less controlled. So at that time, that blood work showed that my diabetes, my A1C was at 9.0. So if you're diabetic, you want it to be below 7. So 9 isn't, oh my God, horrible, but it's getting up there. And then also my platelet count was doing okay at that time. I'm just looking at this. My platelet count at that time was 190, so that was fine. My ALT and SLT was starting to creep up. They were slightly above normal ranges. Not, oh my God, above, but they were starting to get there. So that's what the blood work showed. And so, but the ultrasound of my abdomen did show at that time that I had an enlarged liver. So you could just call it inflamed liver, and it was fatty, had a lot of fat on it. Spleen was fine at the time. So I was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease at that time. I wasn't an alcoholic. I rarely drank. I have a drink or two at the bowling alley every once in a blue moon, but overall, I don't drink alcohol. So that's why it was non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But with my weight creeping up, my I was weighing at 328. My diabetes, my A1C was getting out of control, and with the diagnosis of the non-alcoholic fatty liver, we had to make a change. And I had for several years tried to lose weight on different type of programs with no success at all. So doctor referred me to a bariatric surgeon, and so I finally agreed to I would look into weight loss surgery. The doctor wanted me to do a gastric bypass. I refused. I said, I'm not that heavy. Gastric bypass, if you're not aware of, is where they take your stomach and cut away most of it and leave like a little egg shape. And they also bypass a portion of your intestines. So it's a major surgery, and I just refused to do it. That's also the surgery that killed my aunt about a month or so ago. So I wish she didn't try that surgery, but no, nothing we can do about it now. But I did settle on the gastric sleeve. The gastric sleeve is where they stick a tube down your throat and into your stomach as an outline. And so what they do is they cut away all the excess stomach, leaving you with like a little slender banana-shaped stomach. So they don't mess with the connections with the esophagus or the connections with the intestine. They don't mess with that. They just pretty much cut away all the excess of the stomach, leaving you with a slender banana-shaped stomach. And so that means you can't eat that much because it's definitely a reduced stomach. And that surgery went great. I had no complications. A lot of people had trouble eating afterwards, or they eat too much and get sick, and I didn't have any of that. I did struggle coming out of anesthesia. I'm someone who always struggles with anesthesia. So I was in the hospital for 3 days after that surgery, but it went great. So I had that surgery on November 17th, 2016. Yes, the day after the election. So, so the following year, up through August, I did great. I went from 328 down to 245. So I lost 83 pounds on that surgery. And so I was great. The pain near my liver went away. And so I never followed up again with the liver doctor at that time. So I thought, okay, I've lost a lot of the weight. Pain gone away. I'm doing good. That was a mistake. I should have continued to follow up with the liver doctor, even though I was losing the weight, because I've learned that even if you lose the weight, that doesn't necessarily mean the fat comes off your liver. That's the only downside. That's the only way you get the fat off the liver is to lose weight, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the fat will come off the liver, because the fat on the liver, your body doesn't like it, so it attacks that fat, tries to get rid of it, and that's what turns into scarring. Scarring, as your liver scars, it gets harder, and so it reduces the ability to function normally, to cleanse your blood and whatnot. And the harder it gets, the less blood that can flow into it freely, and it causes a backup. Kind of like an interstate when there's a lot of cars. If you've ever been on an interstate where traffic's been backed up or to a dead stop, that's what happens when your liver hardens. The blood flow doesn't flow as smoothly in there, so it has to take other routes to get back to the heart. So if it does that, it doesn't get cleaned fully and whatnot. So, but anyway, I digress. But August of 2017, I wasn't working 2 jobs anymore at that point. I got to a point where I could get by with just 1 job. But money started to get tight again. So I had to take a second job again. That started the downward spiral because I was working 2 jobs again, working over 70 hours a week. And I was either working or at home relaxing. I wasn't active anymore. And I started to put the weight back on. And over the years, the weight slowly crept up, and I just couldn't do anything about it. And my A1C started to go up a little bit, but for the most part, A1C was under control up until 2019 is when it started to go haywire again. So late 2019, before the pandemic, I started to get some of that discomfort back near my liver, and I was close to 300 at the time, but I wasn't quite 300 yet. So let's see. So in February of 2020, I went for my 6 month follow up for blood work with the doctor's office, just to see where my diabetes was at and whatnot. And I let the doctor know that the pain had come back, and I had weighed myself, and I was probably in 280s, 290s. I was close to 300 at the time. And so my A1C came back at, oh, let's see where that was at. I got the results on my computer up here, so make sure I was a little bit more accurate. And so let's see, the A1C was high again at 6.3. So it wasn't too high. It was still under 7, but it was still considered high. But I said, she decided, let's do the ultrasound of your abdomen again to see where your liver is at. And the ultrasound came back, and it was not good. There was a lot more fat on the liver. It was enlarged even more. There was scarring taking place on the liver, and my spleen was enlarged. So yeah, so I was officially diagnosed at that time with liver cirrhosis. She did send me to a gastroenterologist just to verify. And so I saw a new gastrologist, and they did verify that I was now in liver cirrhosis. It was early stage of it, but so they went ahead, and I went ahead and also did a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. The gastroenterologist wanted me to get that done just to check everything else out. I'm glad I did, because the colonoscopy showed 3 polyps, which they removed, and they were the type that they weren't cancer yet, but they're the type that would turn into cancer if left alone, left in there. And the endoscopy, where they go down your throat, did show that I had a varices in the esophagus. So, as I said earlier, when the liver hardens, the blood flow can't flow freely in there, so it backs up. When it backs up into the spleen, which enlarges the spleen. Your spleen stores the platelets. It pulls platelets out of your blood. So as the spleen gets large, the more platelets it pulls out of your blood. And also the blood still has to find its way back to the heart somehow. So it takes other routes back to the heart. And they said one of the routes it takes is the smaller vein that runs through the esophagus. And that vein isn't meant to hold a lot of blood volume. So as more blood tries to go through that way to get back to the heart, the vein in the esophagus starts to swell up. And so that's called varices. And so I have an initial danger of, if that would ever break, I could bleed out internally and not know of it. So with it being an esophagus, if that swollen vein ever burst, I would probably know about it, because I would probably throw up blood. But it's an urgent situation if that ever happens. So now I go in for endoscopy and a colonoscopy every 3 years because of that. This last year was the 3-year mark, and so I had another endoscopy and another colonoscopy done. And within 3 years, the colonoscopy, I had 3 polyps that was removed. This time, within 3 years, I had 5 more polyps developed. So, and they were all the same thing, not cancerous, but they were pre-cancer, where they would turn into cancer if left alone. So yeah, I'm definitely on the routine of, it was every 5 years, I should say every 5 years for the colonoscopy. Now it's every 3 years. It kind of goes along with the endoscopy. She initially wanted to do endoscopy every 2 years, but she decided to do them at the same time. So we did every 3 years for the endoscopy. And the endoscopy did verify that I still have the varices. I still have swelling in my esophagus. So, but anyway, I still, over the last few years, struggled to lose the weight. I just couldn't do it. So finally, this last year in December, my A1C was 8.0. So it's starting to creep up there again. And my weight was 305 in December. So she's like, we got to do something again. And so she talked about this new medication called Mounjaro. So I had heard about it because I had a family member that started a few months prior to that had some success with it. And so I decided, okay, great, let's do it. The insurance didn't cover it. I was diabetic. I had other medical issues with my liver cirrhosis, but the insurance would not cover it because they said it's strictly for diabetes at the time. It still is strictly for diabetes, not weight loss, even though it has a great side effect of weight loss. Doctors and the insurance said there's cheaper ways to control your diabetes, so they refused to cover it. So thankfully, the the manufacturer had that $25 coupon, so it cost $25 for every 4 shots. So that was great. So I got on it, and if you see my regular weekly videos, you'll see I just finished week 31 last Saturday. I'm in week 32 right now. And as of last Saturday's weekly results, I'm down 85 pounds. So right now, last Saturday I weighed in at 220. My A1C went from my highest A1C, see, in December was 8.0. It's now down to 4.6. So yeah, so within 7 months, my A1C went from 8.0 down to 4.6. It's almost to a point where the doctor says it's getting a little too low. So, but yeah, I'm doing great. I'm not just relying on Mounjaro. I'm working my butt off at the gym, but I don't want to get into it. You can watch my weekly videos for that. Just so your awareness that I am on my last week of Mounjaro because the $25 coupon is over. I can get the $500 off coupon, but insurance still refuses to pay for it without me trying something else first. So this is my last week for Mounjaro. Saturday I start taking Ozempic. The insurance company covered Ozempic, which is stupid. It's about the same price, but you know, it is what it is. I gotta try that first, and if my A1C starts to go up being on Ozempic, then we can go back to the insurance company and say this isn't working, approve Mounjaro. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of. I guess I still got more to talk about my platelet count. I've been having my platelet count back in December was 149. Came in March at 151, so it's still in good range. But when I have my blood work done every 3 months now, I should note, every 3 months blood work now. So, but my platelet count in June came in at 120. And when I say 120, I mean 120,000. It's just easier just to say 120. So, but it usually needs to be above 140,000 to 150,000, depending on what scale you look at. But you want to be above that. So in 3 months, it went from 151 down to 120. So my primary doctor was a little concerned. So she said, let's do it. Let's test your platelet again in 2 weeks, because platelets live for about 8 to 10 days in your blood. So she said, let's wait 2 weeks. Let's test it again. So we tested it again, and it dropped down to 117. So it drops more, but it wasn't a big drop, but it still dropped. So she's like, okay, I'm going to do another blood work on platelets, and we're going to throw in the CBC differential, whatever that's called. So the full CBC workup. And they're also going to do the peripheral blood smear test. So you're going to take a look at the red blood cells, white blood cells, see if there's anything going on with shapes, see if there's any platelet clumping going on, because sometimes when you do blood tests, the anticoagulant that they use, chemical they use to put in your blood to do your test, can sometimes cause your platelets to clump. And when the machine reads your platelet count, it doesn't differentiate how many platelets are clumped together. It reads it as one, so it can cause a false platelet count, which is pseudo-thrombocytopenia. But the blood smear test and the blood work came back. My platelet count dropped even more. It's 112 now. So it went from 151 down to 120, down to 117, down to 112. So it dropped from 120 to 117 in a span of roughly a month. So, but the peripheral blood smear test showed that my white blood cells, red blood cells are fine. The platelets, they do look good. They're not any weird shapes or anything, but they verified that my platelet count is low. There was no clumping going on, so it was not pseudo-thrombocytopenia. It is just regular thrombocytopenia, which is low platelet count, and it's being caused by my liver disease, my liver cirrhosis, along with my enlarged spleen. So it's either my, but what's weird is the other rest of the blood work in June showed my AST, ALT definitely improved. The liver enzymes have improved in the blood. It's so your higher the liver enzymes in your blood means the more stress your liver is under. It's a sign that your liver is stressed. So those improve. With the weight I've been losing, those improved. So I don't understand why my platelet count would go down, because you would think my spleen would be holding steady or maybe a little bit better, because my liver showing signs that's getting better. But my platelet count keeps going down. So it's either my spleen's getting worse, or my liver's getting worse, because the liver produces a chemical. It's thrombonolia, something like that. It's the chemical the liver produces that helps the bone marrow create new platelet counts. So it's one or the other. If the liver isn't producing that chemical, or not producing as much as that chemical, and that's why my platelet count is dropping, that means the liver disease, my liver cirrhosis, is progressing from that aspect. Or it could be a combination of that and the spleen, or maybe it's just the spleen, we don't know. The doctor said with my level being at 112, 112,000, she said she wants to do just a wait and see approach. My next 3-month blood work is on September 6th, which is about a little over a month away. So she says if I was really concerned, that she can refer me to a hematologist, I think is what it's called, is a blood doctor. But she said they would probably just tell you the same thing she was telling me. I'm at 112. She doesn't get concerned until it drops down to below 70, so below 70,000. That's when she starts to get concerned. So she said that they would just say the same thing. They would just wait and see, give it a little bit of time, see where they're at. So I agreed. So that's where we're at. Wait till September 6th for a new blood draw. And then, of course, I'll have a 6-month ultrasound. I get ultrasound done every 6 months, because that scarring in the liver can turn cancers very easy. And I have a lot of cancer history in my family, both sides. So that my 6-month ultrasound will be in October. It's not scheduled yet, but it'll be sometime in October. So we are on a wait and see approach. I say I'm losing weight, doing great from that aspect. The liver enzymes show great improvement, but I'm having platelet count issues. So I'm going to end it with this. I'm sorry, this video still turned out to be long, but I'm going to end it with this. So my varices in the esophagus means that's usually stage 2 of liver cirrhosis. There's usually 4 stages of liver cirrhosis. Varices says stage 2, but I had a fibroscan done about a year and a half to about 2 years ago. The fibroscan is something different than ultrasound. It's a device that they stick on your side and dumps your bone, your ribs, and sends echoes to your liver, and it bounces back to the device, and it helps give a reading of how dense the liver is. So it tells you how much if it's hardening or not. And when I had that test done, it came back as a result of 13.6. Anything 14 and above is considered cirrhosis. Below 14 is fibrosis. So at 13.6, that showed fibrosis, but my liver doctor, the endocrinologist, gastroenterologist, stated that so close to 14, she would classify that as liver cirrhosis. So it's a little confusing. We got the fibroscan showing just right at the borderline of cirrhosis, but I have varices in my esophagus, which is stage 2 liver cirrhosis. So I don't know what to think of it. There was a new drug trial, because there's really no drugs out there for liver cirrhosis, but there was a new drug trial that was starting up when I was diagnosed. But so my doctor tried to get me in, but she couldn't get me in because they said I was too far along because of the varices. So I was stage 2, and the trial was only for very, very early on diagnosis of liver cirrhosis. And so stage 1 liver cirrhosis, and technically I was in stage 2 because of the varices, even though the fibroscan said something different. But I had the fibroscan done after that. So the varices disqualified me from the trial for the medication test. So, but anyway, doctors tells me There's nothing they can do for me. All they can do is tell me, try to lose the weight. Hopefully, I lose the weight. The fat will come off the liver. The liver, with my ultrasound done back in March, was still fatty. I still had an enlarged spleen. Liver was still scarred. So thankfully, the liver is really resilient, and it will be damaged and still function normally. Right now, my liver is still functioning normally. Thankfully, it's still cleaning out the blood, or whatever it does to the blood, filters it out. It's still doing that, thankfully. So, but it's no, the liver, depending on how progressive your liver cirrhosis is. When I was diagnosed, I could, the range to live was 5 years to 20 years without having any intervention, without having needing a liver transplant or whatnot. So, but hopefully I'm a far way away from needing a liver transplant, if ever, because there's so many people that are on that liver transplant list. But as of right now, so my liver's functioning fine, so I'm not on the list or anything like that. Hopefully, nowhere close to being on the list. But it's all wait and see. I've had it for 3 years now. I was diagnosed. Like I said, I was diagnosed back in February of 2020, so it's been a little over 3 years now being diagnosed with it. So I try not to tell myself I'm 3 years into a 5 to 20 year lifespan. Try not to think about that. I could live a long, happy life being in the same area that I'm at, same level of liver cirrhosis. The liver can't heal itself. Usually, though, with the scarring, the liver doesn't heal the scarring. Once the scarring's there, scarring's there. So, like I said, doctors said, we're just trying to prevent it from progressing any further. That's the goal. And if I can somehow reverse it a little bit by doing what I'm doing, losing all this weight, great. But I just want it to not progress any further. I can live with where it's at right now. So, but anyway, that's where we're at. And if you like this video, please click the like button. If you want to see my weekly videos of my weight loss journey, I said I'm going from Manjaro I'm starting Ozempic this Saturday. So tomorrow I'm starting Ozempic. I'm also taking a Alaskan cruise in August, the first part of August, a 9-day Alaskan cruise on the Norwegian Sunline. My family just did a Mardi Gras cruise, a 7-day Mardi Gras cruise back in April. So I have all kinds of videos. My YouTube channel, Sean's Journeys. I also post quick little 1-minute videos or less of my casino slot play. So if you're interested in seeing that, that's all on my channel of Sean's Journey. So if you like seeing these videos, go check them out. Subscribe so you'll be notified when I next post videos out there. And I hope you enjoy everything, but I'm going to end it here. You all have a great day, great weekend, and I will talk at you later.